Social Democrats, Deputy Holly Cairns.
Thank you. It's so important that all community and rural development is done with accessibility and climate action at the heart of it. So rural communities need to be consulted with to best establish how this can be done. I'll start with climate action and move on to disability. The only way we can get public support for real climate action is by communities wanting that and feeling a part of it. Therefore, the only way we can succeed in the face of climate change is if climate action helps communities. To find out how we do this, needless to say, we have to speak to those communities. The government narrative for too long has suggested that climate action will negatively reshape rural areas, and in particular we hear that in relation to it negatively reshaping Irish agriculture. And the result is that the very communities that will be the most severely impacted by climate change are the ones who are scared of climate action. Coastal communities are at even more risk. We talk about climate change like it's something in the distant future, but in areas like West Cork we're already seeing and feeling the devastation caused by climate change. Since the summer, so many areas of West Cork have been flooded after extreme weather events over and over again. This is before we've even gotten into the winter storms. Sustainable development needs to be central to rural and community development. This has to happen across a range of issues. Ireland needs to fulfil, of course, its international emission targets, and we need an overhaul of the proposed Climate Action Bill, which has been deemed too vague and lacking accountability by climate scientists and legal experts. As An Taisce have argued, any serious climate legislation needs to have clear-cut obligations on government to meet their international climate commitments annually, as well as consequent accountability for failure to do so. We need an all-of-government approach, and I think your department should play a key role in this. Government departments and local authorities have to engage with communities more to develop viable solutions for each area. A one-size-fits-all approach simply won't work. Building on schemes such as CLAR and the Walk scheme, your department, Minister, in conjunction with the Department of Environment, should initiate a climate action programme to enable each community to decide how it can best mitigate against climate change. Transition towns like Kinsale have established models that can help direct these types of initiatives. Too often policies are punitive rather than empowering. Funding from your department has to be based on sustainability aspects that can future-proof our rural areas and encourage practices that enhance and preserve our natural environment. All schemes and programmes, including the transitional leader arrangements, should emphasise providing sustainable development and job creation. In relation to community and rural development and disability, I'm on the new Disability Matters Committee, and one of the main aims as a committee is to ratify the optional protocol of the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. This will mean that the state can be held accountable for denying people their rights under this convention, their right to exercise their rights, that is. For too long, people with disabilities in Ireland have been excluded from being able to exercise their rights. Any community development from here on in has to be done in a way that doesn't exclude people. So every town plan, every village and urban development needs to ensure accessibility from the outset. For example, the absence of audible pedestrian crossings is impacting people with visual impairments. I've had people contact me in Bandon, Clonakilty, so many areas in West Cork. The recent urban regeneration in Clon actually created new access issues, and just recently I was talking to a constituent in Ballydehob who literally can't bring her mother who's in a wheelchair around the village because the footpaths just aren't suitable. There's obviously so many examples like this. I think we could all go on all day. But these are issues that can be easily resolved with proper consultation and proper planning. Planners, architects and engineers should have to engage with expert groups such as the Irish Wheelchair Association, the National Council for the Blind, Disabled Drivers Association, community-based access groups, and so many more to ensure priority areas of need are addressed promptly and effectively. Also, the expertise of the Centre for Excellence in Universal Design, the National Disability Authority, needs to be utilised more. That's in relation to planning, modification and building of our cities, towns and villages. They've got tools and policies to help ensure we build environments that are accessible and used to the greatest extent possible by people regardless of their age, size or ability. Minister, we need to ensure that all funding from your Department for Town and Village Developments has built-in mechanisms to guarantee accessibility and involvement of expert and local groups for people with disabilities. Community involvement and empowerment is key to ensuring both climate action and that disability matters are at the heart of rural and community development. At the moment, I think there's a lot of reimagining of our communities and public spaces as a result of the pandemic. So right now you have an opportunity to perhaps look at artists and creators to employ them to act as facilitators in towns and villages to help imagine new solutions, to liaise with those groups that I spoke about, to address accessibility and climate action. Many of these practitioners who have been severely impacted by COVID have the skills to consult with and help different groups and communities to set out a new vision for their areas. We should use their expertise and give them work while also empowering local populations to help create communities that are accessible and environmentally sustainable. In relation to broadband, I won't go into it because most other deputies have, but obviously, particularly in light of the pandemic, it's just so important that we have the actual opportunity to work from home in rural areas. Thank you.